And next, why? One of the first ones is reproducibility. This is like thinking about your peer reviewers, for example. Are they going to be able to reproduce your search and your methods? Another one is replicability, which is a little bit different from reproducibility. This is like thinking about other researchers. Would they be able to take the search strategy that you created and then implement that, use that to come up with something a little bit different for their own, basically like advancing on what you've done here. And then we've got transparency, obviously one of the really important things just involved in a systematic review generally, making sure that other people can see, what you've done. And then minimizing bias. And this is another, just generally what systematic reviews are designed to do, is minimize bias as much as possible. And so for protocols specifically, one of the big things is what's known as harking, hypothesizing after results are known. And I've got the citation here, and Hannah just popped it in the chat. There's this article by Kerr that really goes much more into what harking is and sort of the dangers of it. So that's available to you if you would like to go into that and read that article. And then defending decisions made. So as you're making your different decisions, if you can point back to your protocol and say, this is why we used or didn't use these terms or these databases, or this is why we used this eligibility criteria, that should all be in your protocol in advance. So you can point back to it when a peer reviewer comes and says, hey, why did you do this thing? You can say, well, I thought through it in advance. Here's why. Stake your claim. This is another one that I push a lot with, especially with early career PhD students. You want to make sure that you've staked your claim for your idea. This is mine. Even though I don't have this published yet, this is my area. This is what I'm putting a systematic review together for. And then ideally, other researchers will go, they will see, okay, this one's already claimed. So I'm not going to do that systematic review because somebody else is already doing it. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Organizing the process, that goes in with that, guidelines for how your team is going to approach the project. Organization, documentation, hugely helpful as you're going through this process. Systematic reviews take a long time. They're very complex. There's a lot of moving pieces. And so having this protocol in place just really helps keep you organized in that process. And then last, it's required. There is a caveat on this, right? Because some disciplines, some journals will not require it. But for, the health sciences, for my public health people, it is required most of the time. And even if it isn't required now, it will probably be required in the future as systematic reviews continue to grow and become more of a thing for more journals. So, in other words, take this seriously. For people who haven't done systematic reviews in the past, I think we can tend to see protocols as like, oh, this is just a hurdle we have to jump through before we actually do the work. Where really, ideally, you're putting a lot of work into this protocol and you're doing a lot of that work up front. And this is work that will contribute to your published review. And it's not just a thing that you do before you do the work. This is a big chunk of the work that you're doing. And it's going to make the rest of the process go much more smoothly if you have a very well thought out, very thorough protocol.